No.
Hi, I just thought I'd come on here and show you how to make a kind of inexpensive, maybe piece of forest floor, or join them together using this stuff here. This stuff is called roving. You can get it from textile shops that sell spinning. And usually what I do with these is I put them through the spinning wheel and make yarn. But you can also, because it's pure wool and it only works with like animal fibres and some plant fibres, you can felt. And so this is a blending board which you can blend different colours together to usually take them off to make things to spin with, or take them off in a flat piece. And I've got a flat piece that's just drying to show you in a minute. So you just need to get a piece, and you can do this without a blending board by layering. So if you don't have one of these boards, you can do it by getting a piece. And this stuff is actually quite, you can get it really, really cheap. But you can do it if you don't have a blending board by layering it over one way and getting another piece and layering it over the other way and diagonal, etc., till you've built up a whole piece, and then you'll felt it together with what I will show you in a bit. Obviously a lot more than this, and it makes like a felted piece of material which you can use for terrain pieces, you can use for boards, you could manipulate round rocks and things, or whatever you need to do with it. But I'll show you on the blending board what you do. I just want to thank Chris for filming this. Thanks, Chris.
It's all right, you're welcome.
So on a blending board, you just literally build layers up with coloured fibre. And because I'm doing it for like a kind of forest floor terrain, I'm not bothered about it being really, really even, because forest floors, if anybody's walked on a forest floor, it's not even. Is it, Chris?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about terrain. Nothing's even and nothing's to scale. There's no like proportion, there's no perspective. It's all just sort of like whatever you want to manipulate it to, like the ground, you know, like rocks or bases or whatever, you know, it can be any shape, any texture you want, and because it's natural, isn't it, like ground. So
And you can obviously, if you've got some brown and things, if you want your deep colours first, sorry, I won't talk while I'm doing that bit. What I'm going to do now is just literally get this brush that comes usually with the blending board and smooth it down. And what I'm going to be doing is building up with various colours a base first. So you're trying to get a good solid base at the bottom. And when I've got this as a good solid base, I will come back to you with the next part of the process. Right, we've got the bottom bit of the forest floor kind of done, and we do it all one way. So at the moment you can see all of these bits at the bottom. These are fine because you can fold them up on yourself later in the felting process. But it just gives a base for the bottom of the piece. And if you've seen like felted back carpets, felted back mats, things that have felt on the bottom, some ornaments, for example, have felted. This is kind of the process. So now we've kind of gone down to give it a bit of a variation. I'm going to get a bit of a lighter colour. And this stuff itself is really kind of inexpensive. And if you've got a local farmer and you don't mind dyeing your own yarns, or own fluff, which is really easy to do, it can work out really, really cheap. but obviously I've bought this commercially prepped. But I'm just going to layer some lighter pieces now over the top in a different direction, and that means when I come to felt it, if it was all going one way, it could split in the middle. So I'm just going to build up layers of colours. This is alpaca, so it's got a longer what you call a staple length. So it's not harder to work with, it's just a bit longer than a merino staple. And if you want to make these pieces for just photographing your minis on, or you actually want to make a whole board with a felted floor, you can make smaller squares, overlap them, and as you're felting them, they will like join together. You can glue them down to rubber backing, for example, if you wanted to. You could put them over hills, bits like that, sort of like train pieces you've made. Instead of pouring flock on and you wanted a bigger piece of terrain or kind of foresty, grassy area, for example. And I think, Chris, we were talking about this earlier, weren't you, Chris? You were saying you could even do a snowy if you've got some white fibre.
I suppose you could do any colour you wanted to, any kind of ground, as long as you've got the right material and the right colour, and you can always blend them as well.
So as you can see, it's looking a bit more like a forest floor.
Yeah.
You can obviously have woodland. You could add bits of colour in as well. So you could add bits of like a blue for, let's say it was a spring forest floor and you had the bluebells out. I don't think I've got any blue, as we could have kind of put that in to have a look. And you got to make sure that you fill this whole board so you can't see the underneath bit. It's actually very therapeutic to do it. It's not horrible or anything. It's not it's actually quite nice just taking bits of fibres off. And blending them up on this board. There's also here, this is a drum carder. You turn a handle on this and blend colours up. It's a lot quicker, and this is actually, you get slightly a bigger piece. But I wanted to have a go on the drum card of the blending board to just do a small piece to see how it would work out. And we've done a test piece already, haven't we, Chris?
We have. And
that's just drying, and I will show you that probably at the end of this video to see what you get when you carry on. And that's all you do. I'll just have a quick look. Have we got a colour? We've got some red. Should we try a bit of red, Chris, as a flower? Can't think of what kind of red flower we'd have in a forest as such, but it's fantasy, isn't it? So, or it could be blood, you know. It's your forest, it's your gaming table, it's your imagination. We'll pull a bit of this off. This is a gorgeous red, isn't it? And what you could do with this is you could put, because remember you're going to put green over this. So it could be there's a patch there and there's a patch there. So we'll put this down here. And it looks, that looks like some blood's been dripping. But then what you can do is you can overlay with bits of green, for example. We've got a lighter bit, yeah, we have. And let's do some this way over the top. This is if you're an artist or you like doing artistic things, which I presume most people who like the painting side of the hobby. See, if that had been in the blue, it would have looked like little maybe patches of bluebells or other things. The red, it could look like there's been a battle.
Yeah, it does look like blood on the ground.
It does, doesn't it? Like some kind of battles had, and the blood has soaked into the earth, but like maybe a sacrificial ritual ground or something. But yeah, so what we'll do is we will show you when I've got this done, and I'm not going to show you the whole felting process. You can find them on YouTube. Basically what you do is that's what you need these dowels for. You will take, when you filled it up, this piece off the board. Once you've got quite a lot, it peels off really, really well. And then you get hot water, and because it's very flimsy at the moment, look, if I just take this off a little bit, there's no substance to it whatsoever. You can at this point, if you wanted to, start clumping these together, and you could actually form some hills and bits and then wet it in place if you wanted to. You take it off, and then you put hot water and just normal fairy liquid dish soap stuff onto here, in bubble wrap, and like rub it together and rub it round, being gentle at first, and then you get more and more and more rough with it, and you then put it in between the towel, and you like rub it like roll it like you would be doing like a giant, if anyone's made rock or had a rolling pin to flatten something out, you've really got it's a bit physical, but it's lots of fun. You get covered in soap and water, but that's the fun part. There's also as well needle felting. Now, I was watching the Harrowhurst miniatures and about needle felt, you know, Trish was saying she needle felts her own terrain, and that's what gave me the idea for this, because I thought, oh god, I have loads of this fibre because I spin it up doing textiles. Why don't I have a go, instead of just needle felting bits, make some, see if I could make some terrain floor.
It does really look like a forest floor now. It looks kind of more clumpy, which is actually the kind of effect you want.
Yeah, but obviously this is not really suitable to really play with. Well, you could if you wanted it as dense undergrowth that it would literally come apart. There is no substance to it until you've felted it together. And I think we should show you the felted piece that we did earlier. So this is the bit we did earlier. So this is the piece, obviously, we've just shown you. I have to clean this off in a minute. And this is the piece that we did earlier on. And as you can see, it is really, really tough. It's still a bit damp, is this. And the good thing is, while it's damp, you can still pull it into place. If you wanted to make lots of these, as I said, you would get your damp pieces together, or your pits together before you felt them, overlap them, and they would felt into each other. So you could make a whole game board, I suppose. It's still got to dry. This is the back. So I've just done the back really plain, and there is the front. And I think it does look like,
it really does look like grass.
a foresty grass floor. You've obviously got bits here from the fibre That does look like long grasses. You've got some bits in there. As I say, you could cut these into bits if you wanted to, and I suppose you could cut them in circles and use them as bases on your models.
You could do.
If you wanted to do that.
But you can also, if you've got like any terrain, like if you've got any like hills or rocks that you make like out of foil, like you can just do that.
It's just an inexpensive way of
drape it over your terrain, yeah.
Yeah, because felt, I don't know how much felt is to buy per piece, and I don't think they're that expensive, but they're usually just one colour. You don't usually get pieces, and if you bought a big piece of felt and then made up some smaller pieces to add interest, for example. But this is really, really strong. You can also as well put them around performers. So if you wanted to have it like that and make sure it kept upright, you can dry it like that and it would dry. You can dry these pieces hard as well. You can put bits of like a very small amount of glue as well in your washing up mix when you're doing it. And so when it dries, it gives it a harder finish. But I think that's worked out really, really well. 100 grams of this roving for basic merino roving is usually about £3 for 100 grams. This isn't even, I would say this is about 20-30 grams, maybe 25. When it's obviously it's a bit heavier because it's wet, but about 25 grams worth of that. So it's probably about 70 pence for that size piece, which I think is pretty good value. What do you reckon, Chris?
Yeah, I would agree.
And it's fun to make, therapeutic, and we're going to see how it goes with making a terrain board with and it's durable enough to put your pieces on. As you can see, you can do it about, and it's not falling apart, so you're not going to ruin it whilst you're gaming. You could put a rubber back on it. You could glue it to a rubber back, and then it would really keep it. And then you could, if you wanted to, if you did do needle felting and you're making a hill, for example, I'm just going to do this. You could, because this is felted, you could get this piece and start needle felting it by poking it very violently till it all kind of hardens up. So you could actually put your own hill
like
bits,
a grassy mound.
Yeah, whatever you needed onto this. It would felt on, it would be on, or you can just leave it as a flat piece and then put your terrain pieces. So I hope that helps in maybe a very cheaper and fun, cost-effective way of making some forest floor or snowy floor if you use white. You could use grey as well, I suppose, as that wouldn't look out of place with greys. It could look like
rocky ground.
Rocky ground. Or you could actually cut pieces of this out and stick this in and then make some rocky paths out of stone or other bits. So, or you could just make a small piece if you wanted to photograph your models on. Just you needed a very simple floor to put a couple of models on with a backdrop. It's a really cheap way of doing it. So I hope that helps, and we will see you soon. And as always, I will pop up one of Chris's pictures as well for you to look at the end. So we will see you very, very soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.